Ladies and gentlemen, this is RedIn30, where we make you red in 30, literally. We back. It's a little music.
Told me they want it, said that I wanted to.
It's called Countdown.
I've been rolling, racing to get to you. I be the only one to tell you the truth. Jumping up on it, that ain't what I came to do. I'm just a boy with a doll. Pain with the rain made me grow. Don't always get what I want, but it's okay, cause I know. Countdown. They said I'm out of time, so I'm the clock now. Tried to hold me up, I put my hands down. I've been through enough, so I'm the man now. Man now. Told me they wanted, said that I wanted to. Hop in the rolling, racing to get to you. I be the only one to tell you the truth. Jumping up on it, that ain't what I came to do. I'm just a boy with a dog. Pain with the rain made me grow. Don't always get what I want, but it's okay, cause I know. Countdown. They said I'm out of time, so I'm the clock now. Tried to hold me up, I put my hands down. I've been through enough, so I'm the man now. Man now.
Donovan Montreal, Countdown.
Countdown. They said I'm out of time, so I'm the clock now.
Go stream that.
Try to hold me up, I put my hands down. I've been through enough, so I'm the man now. Man now.
Y'all make sure to go stream that. It's Donovan Montreal on Apple Music, Tidal, Spotify, Amazon Music, all that good stuff. It's real smooth, right? Yeah, but we're gonna turn it up real quick. So this is RedIn30. We make you red at 30. Literally, I'm here. I'm DM. Here with the homie EJ. What's up? Yeah, we here. And we just here to talk again. RedIn30. It's the 30-day reading of the Gospels. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. We believe in the entire Bible. We believe the Bible is a story about who you and I are. And it's going to be dope because this one's actually going to talk about that. But we believe that Jesus tells us who we are in the story. All we talking about Jesus, truth, and you are all using red words, right? Right? And I say this a lot. I say this a lot, bro. And I'm never going to not say it. But I think the red words are grossly neglected, right? Like I think that we read a lot of books and we hear a lot of messages and we do a lot of different things. We got a lot of devotionals and all that, but the red words are grossly neglected. And I think that explains why the outcome of a lot of situations are like they are. Mm-hmm. Outcomes, you get what I'm saying? Like I believe that it kind of explains why we don't see some of the things that we should. Right. Or why we fail in some of the places that we fail in that we shouldn't fail in. You know what I'm saying? And just it makes me understand it. Jesus, truth, and you are using red words, right? And it tells us who we are in the story. I love there's one place he says, search the scriptures. I always like to say search the script. If we look at the script, we talking about the play. We've done this before on RedIn30, but it tells you what position you play. And so a lot of times what we don't catch is we don't catch what Jesus is saying because we think he's trying to give us some kind of moral principle.
Morality.
Yeah, and I know somebody probably listens to this right now. Well, it is. He is trying to make us moral, and they think holiness and morality is the same thing, or righteousness and morality is the same thing. And he is trying to make us moral and everything, and it's like, no, but he's not. He's not trying to give you a moral principle. Jesus, catch me, Jesus is always speaking to the character of the human. He's actually speaking above the individual, but more on the eternal landscape of what God intended for humanity to be. Mm-hmm. That makes sense? Like it's the eternal landscape of the identity of mankind that God intended. I don't have to go through the story over and over again because it was like beating a dead dog. The story in the garden and how it happened and everything. But Takoge, you know what Takoge is, right? Mm-hmm. They don't know. Takoge is the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Right, Takoge, like yeah. Just do the letters. But Takoge got us believing some things that we shouldn't be believing and functioning in ways that we shouldn't be, and it made us forget that we were made in the image.
Yep.
You get me? So now all this happens, all life, everybody comes, and now comes Jesus on the scene. And Jesus comes on the scene and begins to say things that's a little different than what people have been hearing. He was like, I didn't come to do away with the law, all the prophets, but I came to fulfill it, right? Like it's so dope for him to say that, right?
Yeah.
But he begins to speak to it, and I want to say it again. He's not here to give us, moral principles, or just to tell us what to do. He's actually here to speak to our character, tell us who we really are.
Right.
And that becomes the conversation. But if you don't know that that's what's going on, and you think that, now we use Christianity, but you think that it's all about, or the Bible is all about moral principles or moral steps to take, that's just like the law. Like if you think it's just about that, then you miss the personality of God.
Right.
You miss it 100%. You miss what he's saying and who he's saying that you are. You get what I'm saying? Now once I change my mind and I begin to look at it that way, then I begin to take more from it. Because I know that he's telling me who I am.
Yep.
He's telling me who I am and who I'm supposed to be. Now it's easier to be something and then do it. It doesn't sound like it, but it's easier to be something and do it than to do something to be something.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? That's the harder road.
Yep.
But, we're still reclining about the day. Dogs bark. That's just what they do. They don't start, I need to learn how to bark so I can be a dog. No, I'm a dog, so I bark. I mean, I can think of several different things that do what they do. Bees make honey. They don't make honey so they can be a bee. That's a cool little phrase, right?
Right.
They don't learn how to make honey so they can be a bee. No, they realize who they are and what produces from them, innate in the instinct of them, is the honey. What you about to say?
We got the sequence messed up.
So we got the sequence messed up. So you mean to tell me that the order is messed up? Like the sequence of how life really works is messed up. That's why Jesus tripped him out in John 3 when Nicodemus came and snuck over there and talked to him at night because he didn't want the homies to know.
Right.
He was coming over there and talking to him, right? It's so funny. So he come to him at nighttime. It's almost like a creep, right? But he come at nighttime, and then Jesus says this. Watch this. And it almost seems like he's out of order with what he's saying. And when I say out of order, like not bad, I'm talking about like he's out of sequence. He said, well, you must be born again. And Nicodemus went straight to the regular sequence. Well, what do you mean? Am I supposed to go back into my mother's womb? Like, how could this be? How am I going? I'm grown now. How can I go back into my mother's womb? He was missing the point. Jesus was trying to change his sequence.
Right.
You got to go back from the one.
Yep.
You get it? Yep. And so the sequence is off. And so what we have is tons of people. And this, I know where this comes from. Takoge started this, right? But Takoge ends up building the system that is.
Right.
And so this system says you're not somebody until you do something.
Yep.
You get it? You're not somebody until you do something, or you have something, or you've created something, or somebody has highlighted you, or somebody. You're not somebody until then. And so now we have this constant chase. We have this constant thing. I know I put a clip out the other day about overcoming the need for prestige. We got this thing that we're constantly trying to accomplish something to be somebody, when if we'd realize who we are, we would function accordingly.
Right.
Once again, I'm going to say it again.
Yeah.
Bees don't start making honey so they can join the bee club, right? They instinctually, a bee is a bee, so it does what it does. And sometimes I think that our big brains, we got bigger brains than other animals or whatever they want to say, right? Our brains are more sophisticated. Sometimes I think our big brains, sometimes a blessing and a curse.
Because brains getting away.
Yeah, because sometimes you're too smart.
Right.
You're artificially intelligent.
Right.
You're so smart, you think you know so much that you leave out your instinct. And then, don't get me started on that, because then you get what you call fake instinct, right? You get fed this thing for so long. We're gonna do a podcast about the algorithm in a little while too, and I'm not gonna do it this one. But you get fed something over and over and over for so long that you develop an appetite for something that wasn't normally meant for you to eat. You're actually allergic to that system talk. But you build an appetite for it, and now you built such an appetite for it, and it's such a cycle that's who you think you are. Ain't that crazy?
Right.
You just build an appetite for it. Over and over and over again. Faith comes by over and over and over. You keep getting fed this same thing. So then when Jesus shows up, he's feeding us something different. He's on the bread of life.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm doing something a little different than what y'all talking about. So he begins to speak to the character of man. Now, this is a dope story, and some people might have heard it. We kind of talked about it earlier today, EJ, when we were putting up that fence. We putting up a dog fence, y'all. So I just want y'all to know we out
Shout
here.
outs to the dogs.
Shout outs to the dogs, to the canines. Woo, 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 woo. Shout out to the canines, right? But the German Shepherds, by the way. But we were talking, and I woke up the other morning, bro, and I'm rehearsing this to you, but I woke up the other morning, and I don't know why I had this in my head. And there's a scripture where Jesus says, and I'm gonna find that mug. Let me see if I can find that mug, so I can kind of point people out so they can go read the context for themselves. What word should I look up? I should look up the word poor. Right. That's what I'm gonna do. And I couldn't understand it. Let me see. Hold on. Am I looking at the right one? Hold on.
No, it's
I may not be looking at the right one. Oh, I am looking at the right one now, John. And so it's John 12, and I think it's like verse 1 or 2 or something like that, right? And so this woman came, and y'all know the story. This woman had the they always talk about alabaster box. They even wrote songs about it and all kind of stuff. But this woman came to pour this precious ointment on Jesus, right? And at the time, the way the situation was there were heirlooms. Like the ointment was like a special perfume. So it wasn't like today. Today we don't care about perfume. First of all, perfume is totally chemical, probably doing something bad to your skin or whatever. But and that time things were natural. So when you found natural things that smell natural oils, or sometimes you had it for so long that it gave off a natural perfume, a natural good smell.
Yeah.
And they would use perfumes at those times for burials. They would pour it because bodies at those times there's not embalming. There's nobody embalming nobody.
Right.
There's nothing. So they would wrap them up and pour the perfume on them to overcome the smell of dead carcass. Which is funny how we all die and we just all stink.
Right.
But that's another conversation, right? But they would use that perfume, so it would be heirlooms that would be passed down, and they would put them in bottles that didn't have a top.
Yeah, they were sealed.
So they were sealed. The glass it almost would be made to where there's no way to pour it out. The only way to get the ointment out was to break it.
And that's a real thing. That's a what you call it, prestige? It's like a top thing.
Yes, it's top tier.
I'll break this open for you. That means
that means I really think something of you. That means I have you of high regard.
Right.
If I'm going to crack open this heirloom that's been passed down from my mom and from her mom and from her mom, or my dad and his dad, like it's an heirloom, and you were only supposed to use it for burials, like for things of that nature. They're not putting perfume like we do. They go out and try to smell good and try to holler at somebody, but it's like it was always used for that. So now here's this woman comes, and John, 13? 12. And I don't, you can read it, just 12, you start verse 1, you can read it, right? But I was wondering, I woke up the other morning, and there's a statement in verse 8, and he says, for the poor you have with you, for the poor always you have with you, but me you have not always. And I say, I couldn't get it. Why would Jesus say, like, you always gonna have the poor with you, the poor you have always with you? Why would he say that, right? And it threw me off because we over the years we were just we have a problem with taking a phrase that Jesus may say and making doctrine out of it without realizing who's he's talking to and why he's talking to them that way. Like the woman, remember the Seraphinian woman? And I found out that the reason he talked to her that way because she was a rich woman. The Seraphinian people were rich people. They were rich people, the Greek people that were looking down on the Jews. So if you go back to the conversation, we'll talk about that another time too. You go back to the conversation, he spoke to her in a certain way according to a certain culture, right? That brought a certain response out of her to see if she was really submitted enough to receive what she came for. I got in an argument with some of the black Hebrew dudes on the Clubhouse days. I got in an argument with some of the dudes on there, man. They always want to fuss. But I got in an argument about that. And I got enlightened about it because I didn't know the Seraphinian woman was, a well-to-do person. I didn't know. But then it even made more sense to me after that, why Jesus spoke to her that way. And so you don't get the context of who you're talking to, why you're talking to them. Yep. You just take what they say. So that's what they were doing on the black Hebrew. They were like, Jesus says only for the children of the house of Israel. And I'm like, bro, but he just gave it to this woman that's not a part of the house of Israel. What are you saying? Right?
You got to understand.
You didn't read the context. You're just trying to prove your point.
Yeah, right.
So I'm sitting there back to back to something. What the poor you always. So we just run around. We always say, well, there's always gonna be poor people. You just gotta do what you gotta do and help what you gotta help, whatever. But I said, why would Jesus say, the poor you have with you always? But then he came to preach the gospel to the poor. And the gospel is the good news. If the good news to the poor is that you don't have to be poor no more.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm trying to figure out why he said the poor you have to, and it hit me, bro. I don't know. It hit me like a ton of bricks today. It hit me like a ton of bricks. He said, now, who is he talking to? I say, well, I go back and read it because I had to make sure. And so the story says that the woman broke the oil over Jesus' head, right? And the house was filled with the odor of the ointment, right? In verse 4, and it says, then one of his disciples, Judas Iscariot, right? Simon's son, which should betray him. So all y'all know who Judas is, right? But y'all know him for betrayal. It said he asked Jesus, why not this anointment be sold for 300 pence and given to the poor? That's what Judas saying. Then he said, watch this, it gives context. This he said, not that he cared for the poor. This is even better than what we were talking about earlier, EJ. Yeah. This he said, not that he cared for the poor, but because he was a thief and had the bag. Everybody trying to chase the bag, right? You get it? Everybody trying to get that bag, right? They don't even understand. Everybody trying to get that bag, for he had the bag and bear what was put therein. Then Jesus said, leave her alone. Against the day against the day of my bearing, she has kept this. In other words, she saved this for the day that she knew I was about to die, right? He says, for the poor always you have with you, but me you have not. And I said, well, why is he saying this? Then he said, who is he talking to? I said, well, who asked the question? So now Judas is here, and he's asking the question, why we could have sold this for 300 pence and gave it to the
poor.
He came up with an idea. He came up with this grand charitable donation, right? This charity event. I don't know why she breaking that over Jesus. Now, clearly, a couple of things, EJ. One, he didn't know who Jesus was. He couldn't have known him.
Absolutely not.
He couldn't have recognized who he was. Therefore, he couldn't recognize who he himself was, right? But then he didn't recognize the importance of what was going on. He wasn't reading the room. He wasn't catching the moment, right? And I said, well, who is he talking? He's talking to Judas. I said, well, who is Judas? Then I realized Judas, and it describes him right there. He said he had the bag, but he was a thief. So he really wasn't trying to get it to give to the poor.
Right.
Right? Mm-hmm. He was trying to get it because he had the bag. And he was able to take whatever he wanted to out of the bag. And it made me start looking around today. And it made me understand why Jesus said, the poor you have with you always. And he's talking to Judas, right? Now remember, you got to catch my context from the beginning. He's talking to Judas individually here, but the conversation is bigger than Judas.
Yep.
Jesus is always, y'all gotta catch me. Jesus is always saying something bigger than what it looks like he's saying. It's always something greater. So even when he's just talking to an individual, he's just talking to the character in that individual so that everyone that reads this may understand how to change their character.
Right.
So now let's break it down a little bit. The poor you have with you always. Well, who is he talking to? He's talking to Judas. Well, who's Judas? Judas is a thief. He's a treasurer, but he's also a thief. And it made me realize that he's telling Judas, you're always going to have poor people with you because you're always stealing from them. The poor is always going to be there because you are always one of those individuals that say you want to help the poor, but you always got your hand in the bag. And I said, wow, like that's why, but we always take it as, well, there's always going to be poor people. No, He's trying to tell people like Judas are always going to have poor people. And so now it makes you explain why even the idea of poor or poverty exists, right? It always amazes me how there can be a billionaire in the city and homeless people in the same city.
I wish you could put like a alert thing across the screen, because this part right here, everybody, this is the main problem. This is nothing else.
Yeah,
this is right here. This needs to be addressed.
Yeah,
this is the root.
This is the root. This needs to be addressed. The character.
Right.
It needs to. There's a character in man that is Judas-ish. You get it? It's a. He said, "The poor, you gonna have what you always." Why? Because you're always stealing. You're always making a suggestion. You're always doing something. You don't want to die. That's why you got a problem with her preparing me for my death.
Yep.
You don't want to deny yourself. And so it becomes, this is the reason. I couldn't understand why you pay somebody $200 something million for 4 years or for 5 years to play a game when you have sets of people that don't have enough resources or books or school stuff, or certain schools don't have enough. I always used to wonder, and it wasn't that, and I, you think, well, we gotta raise money. I used to wonder why these rich people still have fundraisers.
Yeah.
And I used to wonder, and then it made me realize it's not that rich people are something wrong with rich people, right? There's enough for everybody out here, but somebody's stealing. You get it? Somebody thieving, but they're saying that they want to help the world out. Somebody's thieving, but they're saying, and see, your charitable donation won't get it. Your life will.
Yep.
No greater love than this, a man laid down his life for a friend. He who save his life is going to lose it. He who lose his life for my sake, the gospel shall find it. Wow. If any man come after me, let him deny himself, take up the cross and follow me. See that conversation? We don't want to prepare for burial. Don't waste that for the prepare of burial. We could sell it. Let's run some ads.
A garage sale.
Let's do a garage. Let's do a sale. Let's get clients. Let's have commerce.
Yeah.
Right? And see these ideas.
Mm-hmm.
These ideas. Now, I have nothing wrong with clients, commerce, or any of those things, but when they become the primary thing, and you don't want to give your life for it, then it becomes a problem. Keep your charity, give your life. I've seen people that give a lot of money to organizations and never show up for it. I remember some homeboys that played in certain things or whatever, and they just never showed up for the event. But they gave the money, they funded it and everything, but they just wasn't there. And then I had other ones that would show up, and when they showed up, it was more for the kids than the money that they sent. Mm-hmm. Because it's life harvests life. You can't sow money and get life. Every seed bears fruit after its kind. So he's telling Judas, the poor, you're going to have you with you always because you a thief. Now he speaks to the character of mankind. Oh my God, EJ, that the poor you'll have with you always, but the poor person that you have with you always can be you.
Come on.
You ready for it? You want me to go there?
Yeah.
The poor person that you have always with you can be you. You can't be poor of identity, poor in reality, poor in being, right? Because you've allowed yourself to steal from yourself. Mm-hmm. He's speaking to the character of mankind, right? He's speaking to the character. Now, we know Judas. Judas was, we all know Judas as a betrayer. But before he was a betrayer, he's a thief. He was stealing the whole time. Joker was stealing the whole time. And what's funny was, you know what's funny about it? Jesus knew it.
Right, yeah.
Jesus knew it. Stealing the whole time. And he began to speak to Judas, and him speaking to Judas is speaking to the character inside of us. Number one, what are we stealing from ourselves? Because we got it. The thief coming not but for to steal, kill, and destroy. But before I kill and destroy, I got to steal it from you. I can't kill you or destroy you unless I stole your identity, all right? So I got to steal from you first. And so now we're stealing. And now you're always going to have the poor with you as long as you're taking what you shouldn't take. You get it? And it's more blessed to give than receive. If you gave more, there would be no poor.
Right.
You get it? Now, so I can think of, EJ, several nuances in life today, whether it's governmental or economical or, industrial or whatever you want to say. I can think of several different ways we can see where it's just getting stolen. Mm-hmm. where identity is getting stolen, number one.
Right.
And so because identity is getting stolen, right? People, we can go back to history where land is stolen. You know what I'm saying? And people's lives are stolen. Actually, people were stolen, right?
Right.
And then this concept keeps a poor mentality because the resources and the word is resource. It's like source again. So the source again can't be gathered because you didn't know there was a source at first. It's a resource. In order to have a resource, there was a source.
Right.
You get it? You don't even know it because the concept or the understanding about it was stolen from you. So now outwardly, watch this. Outwardly, the poor you have with you always, because there's always some thieving. And we're not talking about, we're not pointing fingers at nobody else. We're pointing fingers at ourselves. Because what is it that we aren't willing to give? Not talking about of our substance.
Right.
I'm talking about of ourselves. We won't deny, we won't give ourselves, right? So because we won't give ourselves, the poor we have with us always. And whoever that is, that's who it is. And sometimes it's us. Sometimes it's us being poor. You get what I'm saying? And then we don't understand what's happening. But then we realize, hold on, I've been stolen from. Somebody stole it from me. Somebody stole my identity from me. Somebody stole the truth from me. Somebody stole my purpose from me. Somebody stole the true identity of what I'm supposed to be doing and has me chasing their careers.
Yep.
So I chase their careers, and now the poor I have with me always. You know they got rich poor people? You know what I'm saying? This is giving a principle, man. You got to catch Jesus. He's saying something that's a bigger principle than just material things. But there are people with tons of money that are poor. You get what I'm saying? Because it's been stolen. And we've got to see this again. I want to catch this again, so I want to make sure that you understand that Jesus is speaking to the character of a man. What you about to say? I see it in your face.
I'm gonna catch the next one.
You gonna catch the next one? And we definitely gonna have a next one. And so stop being a thief and allowing yourself to be thieved or be stolen from. Because this is everybody. A lot of times we want to help the poor. When you a lot of times, you know what I want to tell somebody one time. They talking about they want to help the poor. Y'all don't want to help the poor. I tell you what, you big companies.
Right,
y'all want to help the poor.
Yeah.
Give them a stock.
Yeah.
Give them a stake in the company. Oh, why they don't want to do that, EJ? Or give them some land. Why they want to give them some land or give them a stake in the company? See, they're not worried about the money. They'll give money. They'll give the money because they're going to make that over their hands and fists. But when you get the stock in the company, there's a word that comes with it called ownership.
Yep.
Now there's ownership, then there's growth, then there's expansion, and they're never going to do that. Some of those companies can donate a 0.5% of a stock, and some of the companies, and there'd be so much money to be able to fund the whole. You can actually get rid of Skid Row with some of the stocks in the companies.
Oh, yeah.
in California, right? But they're not going to do that, EJ. Why? Because they're a thief. And Jesus talking about you of your father. He was a thief in the beginning. You a thief too. You know what I'm saying? They just stealing. They're just stealing, brother. They're stealing. I just yeah. This has been RedIn30, guys.
Don't steal from yourself.
Don't steal from yourself. Don't steal from yourself. Speak to a character. I don't know, bro. We got to pick it up next time. We'll talk about it again, bro, because it's clear, and I want to say this and I'll be done with it, that to understand that Jesus is actually speaking to a character. So it does not just necessarily mean that the poor is always got to be poor people, but it's until you change your thieving ways, it'll always be the same way. There will always be somebody without because you keep taking it. And you say, and we are taught in this system, get your life, get yours. Get your own, and you don't realize it's all for everybody. This is RedIn30, guys. RedIn30.com. Go check the 30-day reading the Gospels, and we'll see you next time.